It's a rap song I like. Go ahead.
You can't really, you shouldn't really be singing "Bag of Dicks, Put Me to You." That's not probably what you should be saying. Okay?
That's not putting the right message out to the universe. All right. Call Crazy Man. Where is he?
The advice provided on this podcast is general advice only. All statements made are considered by the participants to be accurate, but accuracy cannot be guaranteed. It has been prepared without taking into account your objectives, financial situations, or needs. All participants in this podcast, including guests, may have a financial interest in any or all of the products or services mentioned. Before acting on this advice, you should consider the appropriateness of the advice, having regard to your own objectives, financial situations, and needs. If any private products are detailed on this podcast, you should obtain a product disclosure statement relating to the products and consider its contents before making any decisions. Where quoted, past performance is not indicative of future results.
The Money Path Podcast with Bob Iacchino and Mike Arnold. On this episode, Elvis invented the blockchain. The What and the Why is sponsored by MotiveWave. Go to pathtradingpartners.com and download your free trial. So let's have a conversation of news and the markets.
That sounds like I know you are, but what am I?
Okay, that's like 70s grade school.
I know you are, but what am I?
I love these headlines. Crypto rebound sends Bitcoin back to unchanged. Crypto carnage. Oh. Sometimes I forget to call up my stock charts because I got the cryptos up all day long. And it's so boring watching some of these stock charts compared to watching cryptos move like 10% in 15 minutes. I mean, who wants to watch a boring old stock?
Right.
I mean, that's so 2000s.
Well, are we recording?
Yeah.
Okay. I want some of these crypto guys to. So I've been watching that. I think his name is Doug Polk. Is that right, Stafford? I think so.
Yeah.
I can tell you this. Yeah, I think he's fantastic. I think he's extremely clever. I think he's extremely knowledgeable. I'm always suspect of someone who is one way and one way only, and he's one of them. Where every single person on TV who says something, he's like, he's an idiot. Bitcoin's going back up. He's an idiot. Bitcoin's going back up. I just don't like that about him, but his analysis of cryptocurrencies in general is very thoughtful. He's very knowledgeable. I want these guys to acknowledge that this could hurt people financially pretty bad. And I believe he does that. I believe he does say, like he played one video where a guy on CNBC said, put in 1 to 5%. He said more like 10 to 50%. Doug Polk goes, no, it should be more like 10 to 50%. But then afterwards he said, no, actually, you shouldn't put all your money in this. It is going to be volatile, blah, blah, blah. He comes across like a reasonable Bitcoin cult member. And I mean that as a compliment. So I really like him. Really like him a lot. He's good.
You don't mean you shouldn't go 100% all into Dogecoin?
Shouldn't go 100% all into Dogecoin.
Doge.
Okay, Dogecoin. I want a dodgeball coin though. Like what was that move? Dodgeball the movie? I want a crypto based off Dodgeball the movie.
Okay.
That would be great.
I was watching one of Doug's live streams. It was one of his first ones. He doesn't do them, and he says, I'm thinking of doing a podcast. If anybody who's watching this stream is interested on coming on if I do a podcast, let me know. So as Path Trading Partners, I said, we'd be very interested. Give us take a look at our channel and take a look at us. So if you ever get something from Doug, I tried to plant a seed in the live stream where he asked for people who would be interested to be a guest.
Cool.
As Path Trading. And Doug is a poker player. He's not a crypto guy. That's his hobby.
Yeah.
Okay, back to the show.
Cool.
Back to the show. Back to the show.
Doge. Dodge is a
Doge.
car.
I Dodge. Yeah, well, it's a Dodge. What about this massive crypto sell-off, though? This is horrible, Bob.
Well, back above 9,000 as we're recording this.
No, it's right now the exchange I watch because of the volume. I watch the higher volume exchanges, and this is where it varies depending on the exchange. But now it's at 89.26. It's back below 9,000. It's crypto carnage all over.
It's carnage.
We rebounded. Although the levels on the exchange I put in the videos yesterday, we had the next major level down was 82.84. Earlier on the last 4-hour bar close, which is one of the charts we use on our videos, we closed at 82.79 with a low of 82.10, pretty much closing right on that level. Then it rebounded back above 9,000. Now we're going to have to see if this is a capitulation bottom and we retrace a nice 50% of this level, and then there's some entry that may be coming on a video at some point, but we get to watch it to see. But these GAN levels are rather nice. They are rather nice. It looks like we might have got the capitulation bottom for possibly in Ethereum.
Yeah.
So, coming down to it hit a low at 770 today, which was on my charts.
That is not a buy. That's not your buy call just yet, right?
No, we have to wait for it. There could be a high probability. Well, by the time this gets out, we'll either know if there was a high probability entry or not. But that's why people need to tune into the channel if they're watching the cryptos. I have to get videos out on this. It's stuff. We had definitely had a major crypto sell-off, and pretty much across the board in most cryptos were hurt pretty bad. A lot of people are not happy about it because I think they thought it always goes up. I think Elon Musk's Boring Company selling a flamethrower has something to do with the crypto carnage.
Oh, interesting.
Did you see that? Because they sold enough hats, so they're going to sell a flamethrower to the general public.
Yeah, he sold 10,000 of them already. I saw.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure about him selling a flamethrower. Maybe
it's environmentally.
He's like a child. He's like a billionaire child. It's hilarious.
Yeah, but what does this have to do with the Boring Company? First of all, like selling flamethrowers. Besides, is he that desperate to raise money? Like now he's going for flamethrowers, or is this a hint about the status of the Model 3 and the bad? I mean, Stafford sent me a video. Thanks for that video. I didn't see that one out with the guy starting to just dissect the body issues with the Model 3, and now we have issues. Did you see, Stafford, that there could be the steering bolts on the power steering shearing off already on Model 3s?
No, not yet.
Yeah, Canada has a whole investigation into it already. And there's bolts just shearing off, and oh geez. And now Canada's also got an investigation into the whole suspension on the Model S and X that seems to shear off, that our safety board's been ignoring for years. But Canada's opened an active investigation and asking for people who've experienced this with their cars and everything else. So Canada's really starting to look deeply into Tesla and some of the problems. By the way, Tesla stock, I'll have to get a video out on this. They're going into earnings when? On the 7th? We have another potential double top. So the double bottom that triggered went to target. Now we have a potential double top. It would have to close below 335.71. Stop reduction target 323.31. First target 317.12, and then the lower probability target, because it's in the tails of a candle, goes to 310.92. So that essentially takes us back near that 300 level, which then if we close below 300 would trigger the massive weekly double top, which is still in play. There's my Tesla update.
Love it.
Are you going to buy a flamethrower?
I would love to buy a flame. I watched that video of him selling the flamethrower where he just like pushed the button and started laughing. And I thought, what am I going to do with this but kills myself or somebody else? I mean, what am I going to do with it? Light a fireplace? It's like a parlor trick for adult 11-year-olds.
Well, isn't he going to sell the, like, I wonder how many people are going to buy them in California. Isn't that like prone to massive wildfires and everything else? And now he's going to have all these flamethrowers running around California. California's going to go up in flames because of his flamethrowers.
Yeah, that's going to be the next lawsuit, is that somebody sues Tesla for a wildfire issue.
I bet that's going to happen. That could trigger the double top, though. This is just crazy. I think he's got a few screws loose. I like to think he's a billionaire child.
He absolutely has a few screws loose. If you ever watched that story on him when he got his saline car right after the PayPal money came in, it's just fun. He's fun. He's fun to follow. He truly is.
He is a character.
Yeah, he is fun to follow.
You never know what's going to come out next, but we'll have to see with the.
Like, we made a flamethrower. You want one? And then he's tweeting the numbers. Like, if you look at his Twitter feed, it's like 2,000, 5,000, 7,000.
What's fascinating to me is
flamethrowers.
He's fully focused on flamethrowers now. Meanwhile, they can't deliver to Model 3s, and there's all these problems with it. It's like, dude, maybe you should focus on your car company.
He's just fun.
Oh boy. So what? Hey, we have to jump over. It was Unemployment Friday.
It was Unemployment Friday.
What happened with Unemployment Friday? Because the market's pretty red again. Yeah,
200 point. Well, there was a 300-point drop off the open on the Dow.
I want to hear percentages, Bob. I want to hear percentages.
1.9%. No, 1.25% off the open, I believe it was. Just right off the open, right after the non-farm payrolls number. The cash market open right now down about that much, about 1.25% as we speak. Again, we record these Friday morning. So Dow's down about 325 right now as we speak. So the non-farm payrolls number, expectation of 180,000 jobs added, 200,000 was the number. The unemployment rate stayed at 4.1%, unchanged as expected. Oddly enough, the underemployment rate, or the U6, which measures not only the people that are trying to get jobs, but the ones that aren't, actually rose, which is interesting. You add 200,000 jobs, and the number of people that are out of the labor force mixed with the number of people that are still in it, that unemployment rate actually rose. And that's because the participation rate did not grow. So you added 200,000 jobs, but the labor force participation rate stayed at 62.7. We had a slight uptick in wages. Survey was looking for up 0.2% on the hourly earnings. Month to month came in at 0.3. That is in line with the prior, but the prior was revised to 0.4. So a little bit of an uptick in wages. The actual year-over-year wage growth is now 2.9%, which is the highest in 3 years. The revised from the last month, which was 2.5, is 2.7%. Now, the interesting part about that is that going to be a trend? Because if not, wages this month actually went down when you go to take-home pay, because the weekly hours worked fell.
That's what I was just going to ask you, because that, if you have hours work going down, that can also trigger wages going up.
Yeah, and that's also, it's an interesting part in the cycle as companies invest in let's just call it plant and equipment, but it's mostly technology, right? And people become more productive. I'm very interested in seeing productivity numbers now, because as people become more productive, companies are able to give them higher wages hourly and work them less. And they end up taking home less, not more. The company gives them a raise, but then cuts their hours. So we haven't gotten the flow through yet of the tax cuts hitting the bottom line in CapEx. But everybody should remember that when capital spending increases, oftentimes the number of workers doesn't jump on a one-for-one basis, because companies invest in technology now. They don't open another plant and hire 10,000 more people. So it was really kind of a wash on wages. Now, if hourly earnings start to creep back up and at these newer wage levels, then obviously that will trigger inflation, or could trigger inflation, I should say. Now, the market reacted as if inflation was coming. I mean, we jumped to a 4-year high on 10-year note yields, going to just above 2.83% on the 10-year note. That's 4-year high. So, and the probability of a Fed rate hike went from 70% to 77% in the last couple of days. March rate hike.
I mean, I think a lot of people are saying March is a done deal at this point.
Say that one more time.
They're saying March is a done deal for a rate hike. That's the impression I'm getting. And it wasn't it Yellen's last little.
It's Yellen's last. Yeah, that Yellen's. Most analysts are saying it's baked in now. It's interesting what they talked about in the statement, what they added to the statement, which is going to be my why. So I'll talk about that in a little bit.
That's going to be okay. Well, we just had to get that in there. Well, now we should probably jump back to cryptos. We talked about Robinhood opening up the people, joining the RobinHood app to trade cryptos. Well, now there's over 1 million people on the waiting list. That was earlier this week. So a bunch of people let's trade the cryptos. And then we had the massive carnage.
Why do they need to go on the RobinHood app to trade it?
Robinhood is you can already do stocks on it, but it's essentially no fee stock trading.
There's also no website. It's only an app.
Okay. So
they're gonna do, I guess, no fee crypto trading but it's a real Robinhood is if it really attracts the millennials. So but there's over 1 million people on the waiting list for that. Well, we also have Facebook, which I think they had earnings come out this week that we'll have to touch on. But they're banning Bitcoin and ICO ads. So that's now into their prohibited financial products and services. Funny thing is you can. They've also banned binary options.
Yep.
They have not banned penny stocks.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
Look, buy my marijuana company penny stock is fine, but and I can understand. We've railed against ICOs because there's been a lot of fraudulent ICO stuff out there, but outright banning Bitcoin, that's weird to me. Okay, and your penny stocks are okay, and a lot of other fraudulent.
How about diet pills?
What?
You still do diet pills, right? That don't work.
What do you mean they don't work?
Well, no diet pills work. So I'm assuming you could still advertise diet pills. Well, you fast for 40 days at a time. So if you take a diet pill, you'll lose weight. But, so.
Way to burst my bubble, Bob. Diet.
I have some insight into cryptocurrency advertising.
Shoot.
BitConnect was pumping tens of millions of dollars into advertising, saying you can get rich with Bitcoin. Now that Ponzi scheme has completely fallen apart and people are becoming indicted, all that money has actually pulled out from the ad market. I think that's a result of that multi-million dollar advertising fallout from that scam.
So they banned it after the main ad buyer went away.
Well, there's always Devorcoin if you're ready for another one.
Which is this one?
I know all these scams now.
Which coin is it?
Devor, DAVOR.
What's a Devor coin?
Yeah, you're too legit to quit, Mike.
I think you should divorce yourself from it.
I only.
It's a lending platform. It's the same thing.
Oh no.
Unbelievable.
Oh, I'm tired. That's where and there's going to be a lot of cryptos that disappear. There's going to be a lot of blood in the streets, especially with these sell-offs. But, we're going to work out a lot of the weak things that will get shaken out, and a lot of the fraudulent things will hopefully get shaken out sooner rather than later because, they're not going to all disappear, and there's some pretty good trading in them. They're fun. The levels work really well on them too, especially in the higher volume coins. They work real because I think it's rooted in human psychology and natural. Maybe it's rooted in the biorhythms.
Yeah, like price action in trading is 100% behavioral finance. It's absolutely rooted in this sort of mob mentality that we're all subject to, and if you understand sort of what's going on behind levels and why they work, you end up with a lot more confidence. I remember being on TV one time with a guy, and it was the Futures Now show, so there was another guest who was on the phone talking about technical analysis, and my quote-unquote partner on the show that day said, I don't know, when I look at your charts, it's just a bunch of lines and squiggles. And I was like, what? It's just a bunch of lines and squiggles, he said. And they have no idea that patterns repeat because human behavior repeats. And when you get something like Bitcoin where there's no sort of centralized institutional flow taking advantage of those patterns, the patterns are even stronger.
They are some very nice patterns.
I don't know. People who don't like technical analysis, they can't do it.
That's exactly right. And again, I mean, when you see patterns repeating, they repeat. It's not something that needs to be proven. They repeat. Patterns repeat everywhere in life, not just in trading.
I feel the theme is patterns repeat.
I think it is. That's going to be the show.
Well, speaking of patterns repeat, in our Amazon Taking Over the World segment, here's your foray into healthcare with Amazon, JP Morgan, and Berkshire Hathaway creating a new healthcare company free from profit-making incentives and constraints. So they're looking to do it internally for their 1.1 million employees. I mean,
love it.
So
I love this.
So I love that healthcare, like stocks, like all got sold off because they, like, all right, first of all, they're doing it. So it's a private venture to try to reduce the healthcare costs for their employees, or that's their first foray into it. But it's like healthcare stocks, like healthcare is going out of business. Amazon came in. But it is an interesting thing because I do think there's some major challenges with our healthcare system, and including cost structures and everything else. But we'll have to see what shakes out of this Amazon taking over the healthcare industry. And they came out with earnings this week.
It's not just Amazon, obviously. You know that. You said that, right?
Yes, I said it's Amazon, JP Morgan, and Berkshire Hathaway, which, that's Buffett. So,
right.
So it's this is an internal initiative. First, they're doing it for their employees, so they're trying to figure out a better way to do healthcare for 1.1 million people on the combined companies. So that's a good sample size, and we'll have to see. This will be interesting to follow.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun to follow because, these are three companies with experience in cutting price, right, in business efficiency, so on, in making things. And it's funny, they make it a non-for-profit, but it doesn't hide the fact that they're about to prove that the private sector is better at these things than the government is. They're about to prove it.
Yep. That'll be good. That will be good from my point of view. It'll be a lot of fun to watch. It will be. What do you have any comment on Amazon's earnings?
Yeah, they went after the market with a boring company flamethrower. That's my comment. That's all I got for you.
They crushed earnings.
Yeah, they did. They took a boring company flamethrower to their earnings. That's what I was trying to say.
I don't. Wouldn't that be if you sort of missed? I think you'd be.
No, they're on fire.
They're on fire.
En fuego, on fire. They burn the analyst estimates to shreds.
They're en fuego. Man, that makes me want some of those spicy hot Cheetos. In other news, yeah, they came in at 3. What was it? 3. It keeps disappearing off my screen. It's 375 actual versus 193 estimated. Crushed it. They just blew it up. They really did it. So their stock, which has gone vertical trading, it went up to a high of 14.98, back down to 14.62 as we talk. So they crushed it. Facebook had a decline in users for the first time. I'm trying to, what were their
and time on the site as well.
Yep.
But Zuckerberg talked about that being a victory when he talked about the time on the site. I didn't see him comment on the users, but the time on the site, he essentially, I don't know if this is true, so maybe if either one of you guys have heard about this, you can comment, but he essentially made it as if that was a design that they were trying to achieve, was for people to spend less time on Facebook. And how he sort of spun it, if it wasn't one of their goals, was that Facebook is getting better with their content so people don't waste time on bad content. That's kind of how he spun it.
Well, you don't have to look at all the fake news, or I don't have to look at Bitcoin ads. So it's all good. But Facebook, it sold off briefly. Now it went to new highs, 195.32, pulling back a bit. We also, what else? Apple?
Yeah.
Apple? Decline in iPhone sales.
Yeah, and there was that rumor earlier in the week that they had let their suppliers know that they were going to be buying less iPhones than their iPhone X's, iPhone 10s than they originally said. And then a lot of news agencies reached out to Apple for comment. They didn't comment on it. And then their earnings, I guess, kind of confirmed that might be a true statement.
Well, they still beat on earnings. They came in at 389 versus 383, and they beat on revenue. But, everybody, again, declined in iPhone sales, and now they're down. They were earlier, a couple weeks ago, they were trading at 180.10. Now they're trading 162.98. So this is a nice correction in Apple. Was there any other notable earnings this week?
Well, let's see. We did Apple. We did Netflix last week. Google.
Yeah, Google.
Google did well as well. Big tech didn't disappoint, is the theme.
Google. Let's see. What did they do? They're down big. They beat 1028 versus 970, but I think, what was it? Their something was down. Ad revenue, or
they're banning all ads that might be fake. I just made that up.
But they're down from a high of 1198 down to 1122. Are trading right now at the top of the weekly rotation zone.
Yeah, according to Reuters, Google's parent Alphabet missed quarterly profit forecasts as steady ad sales growth was offset by increased spending to promote its consumer gadgets, like the Google phone, which is supposed to be phenomenal and no one is buying. It's supposed to be fantastic. Like I saw what's the big, is it Wired, or I forget, one of the big tech websites called it the best phone out there, but nobody's buying it.
Is that like if a tree falls in a forest?
Exactly.
Oh, you know what I forgot to...
We are at peak phone.
We're at peak phone?
Yeah. A phone can do anything now. It can shoot 4K video. And 10 years ago, a 4K camera was $90,000. So we're definitely at peak phone.
At peak phone. There you have Stafford's official call of peak phone. Which means what?
What more can it do? What more can you make this thing do? I don't know.
When I can bolt it to my steering wheel and it can drive my car for me, then I'll be happy.
There you go.
Yeah, that's... by the way, you know what we forgot to mention? The big news in cryptocurrencies also this week, which is one of the reasons of the crypto carnage. India not happy and talking about they're trying to ban Bitcoin. Quote, the government does not consider cryptocurrencies legal tender or coin and will take all measures to eliminate use of these crypto assets in financing illegitimate activities or as part of the payment system. That's out of India.
Yeah, the statement included that they don't consider it legal tender, and also 1 in 10 Bitcoin transactions originate in India. So 10% of the transaction volume going away is not a small number.
No. So, I mean, this is the way things turn, though. It's like, this is what you see with companies and stocks, the same thing, where it's rah, rah, rah. I'm waiting for this is going to happen to Tesla. Tesla, no matter what they do, everything was rah, 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 Tesla. Now you're starting to get more, it's sort of at neutral Tesla, and I think it's going to go to negative Tesla. And for a while, everything was positive with the coins. Then it's now where it could be banned, it could be this. You're getting more of this, more balance, and then at some point, people jump on the bandwagon there's a lot of negatives going to come out. And
I bumped into the world famous Rick Santelli this morning.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he asked me about Bitcoin, and I gave him kind of my spiel on it, which our listeners have heard. And then he said to me that he talked to an analyst, and he said the analyst was complaining that no one knows how to value Bitcoin, so he valued Bitcoin as if Bitcoin took over 100% of Visa's transactions. And if so, it's worth $185. That was this particular analyst. I don't know how he came to that number.
Hold on, wait. I got to put it in sell order.
So here's the funny part. This is, I've said this before. I want cryptocurrency people, which Mike and I and Stafford count ourselves among. We like blockchain. I don't want to speak for you guys on this, but I think there's going to be one, possibly several cryptocurrencies that last for 100 years and are transactional and are valuable. I don't know if it's Bitcoin yet. I don't know if it's Ethereum. I don't know if it's Ripple. I don't know if it's any of them. But I'm a massive fan of cryptocurrencies in general. You just have to be realistic about the growth that we've seen. And the word HODL is spelled wrong. So don't. I mean, just be reasonable about this stuff, because all you're doing is encouraging the people you are trying to fight that want to just destroy what we all think is a very valuable asset down the road.
What do you mean HODL spelled wrong?
HODL spelled wrong.
HODL.
Huh?
That's HODL. HODL. It's spelled right.
Just say it, like, stuff like that. HODL. It's like, whatever.
You just got a hold of them, Bear.
Be grown up is what I'm saying.
Because it's going to $1 million per coin, buddy. $1 million.
This rock and roll music is a fad.
Thank you. That's perfect, Stafford. Next thing you know, the kids are going to be having sex before marriage with that Elvis shaking his Bitcoin hips.
How did you get Elvis into this?
Because Stafford brought up that rock and roll music. I've always
Sullivan show. Don't move the camera below his waist.
Yeah, just keep it above his waist. I've always said that now when I talk about stuff, I always think back to when people said, if Elvis Presley becomes popular, kids are going to start having sex out of wedlock, and they were right. So, and it's Elvis's fault.
You know, before Elvis, people didn't have sex out of wedlock?
Not as many.
No, so it's blaming on Elvis.
It's Elvis's fault.
Do you think he listens to the podcast?
Mm-hmm. I do.
Okay, we got Elvis. You just proved he was still around then. Yeah. I wonder if he's hodling. Is Elvis hodling his Bitcoins?
Elvis is Shatori. Is that how you pronounce it?
Shatori Hanzu, who's Shatori Hanzu's brother.
Is secretly Elvis invented the blockchain?
That's what him and Tupac have been doing this whole time. Him and Tupac.
Oh, boy. Oh, yeah, I forgot. Tupac is with Elvis.
Yeah, one of them is Shatori, and what's the other name? Shatori what?
Nakam.
Yeah. And one of them
Knock'em something.
One of them is Knock'em Sock'em Robots.
I think we're going to have a thumbnail for this episode.
Elvis and Tupac created Bitcoin.
And flamethrower.
Oh, see, now you brought up Rock'em Sock'em Robots, and I was watching the Tesla video Model 3 engineering issue videos Stafford sent over, and the Rock'em Sock'em Robots reminded me of the guy, I forget the guy's name of the video, but he said he hasn't seen such poor manufacturing safety quality since Detroit in the 1970s. Rock'em Sock'em Robots.
Rock'em Robots. I loved those things. They lasted about 2 days after I got them for Christmas.
What did you like completely? How?
Okay, if there's anyone that listens to this podcast that's too young to know what Rock'em Sock'em Robots are, they were two sort of action figures that were positioned in a ring. They were made of hard plastic. One was blue, one was red, and you controlled their fists with your thumbs off two joysticks that were attached to the robots that were positioned outside the ring. So as you pressed your thumb down, your left thumb would cause a left uppercut, and your right thumb would cause a right uppercut. And you moved them around, and if you hit the blockhead on the other robot just right, it would pop up, and that was a knockout. Quick synopsis of Rock'em Sock'em Robots. In my household, my brother and I would play it for about 5 minutes with our thumbs, and then we would just start hammer fisting the handles to try and get it to punch harder. And then next thing you know, Rock'em Sock'em Robots was Rock'em Sock'em Broken. It's just broken all over the place.
My favorite was, if you actually hit your own buttons too hard, you'd vibrate your own robot too much, and you could make your own head pop off. You're like, oh, damn it!
I remember that.
Oh, that was the back to the 70s flashback. So, we got to go, you got to start running, Bob. So what's your why?
Today's edition of The What and the Why is brought to you by Motive Wave Software. Motive Wave Software is a well-established developer of easy-to-use, full-featured charting, analysis, and trading software built for the individual trader. Motive Wave offers the best charting tools used by the pros, such as Elliott Wave, Fibonacci, Gartley, Gann ratio analysis, but it's presented in a very easy-to-use way. Motive Wave has a product to fit any budget and any trading style, and one of the very best features, it's available on Windows and Mac. So go to pathtradingpartners.com right now to get your 14-day free trial, and then visit them at motivewave.com.
My why has to do with the analysis of the Fed statement this week. So we had the last Janet Yellen-led FOMC meeting. Janet Yellen is now gelling. She's now chilling.
With her collar up.
She's going to become a senior fellow somewhere, but I forget where. She already accepted a job as a senior fellow.
She can't be a fellow. She's a woman.
I'm just sorry. That's a term.
A fellow.
It's not gender specific. Mike. It's not gender specific. It is non-binary. So she's going to become a distinguished fella. Hey there, fella. How you doing? That's what I say to stray dogs when it's a boy. Hey there, fella. Anyway, her last meeting, they put out a statement and they acknowledged that inflation might be in the pipeline. They changed the statement a little bit, but the news media grasped onto a specific part of the statement where the phrase, the current path of economic growth, I'm paraphrasing this because I'm doing this off the top of my head, but the phrase was, the current path of economic growth warrants gradual interest rate increases. And they changed it to, the current path of economic growth warrants further gradual increases in interest rates. The addition of the word further was what everyone grabbed onto. And I swear I laughed so hard when I heard they did a 5-minute analysis, both on Bloomberg, CNBC, and a couple of others, which I'm not criticizing them, but just on what the addition of the word further means. Now, if you say, we're going to gradually increase rates, or if you say we're going to further gradually increase rates, just the first statement implies you're going to do it further. I mean, you can't have a gradual rate increase without a rate increase, and you can't go further without gradually doing the increase. It was the silliest thing I ever heard. So I wrote an article about it. And then as I was writing the article, I started thinking, I think I know what it actually means. The Fed added the word further so they could remove the word gradual and send a signal that they've become slightly more hawkish if they do. Adding the word further does not change the statement. It just doesn't. Further gradual rate increases or gradual rate increases is the same thing. It just means we've already done some gradual rate increases. Now we're going to do more gradual rate increases, which if you look at the Fed's dot plots, they were telling us that anyway. They were going to do further gradual rate increases. But I think they added the word in order to then remove the word gradual if they need to. So now if you take the statement and it says further gradual rate increases are needed to further rate increases are needed, they remove the word gradual and the statement now becomes ever so slightly more aggressive. So this entire game of word jumble that they play with the Fed statement is real. And I'm telling you, after the March meeting, right now, I mentioned it earlier, the March meeting has gone up to almost 78% probability. Analysts are saying it's a done deal. Fed funds futures don't say that yet. 78% does not mean it's a done deal. I've seen 78% drop down to 0%. But it's got to get up into the 90s before I think we can say it's a done deal. But if they hike rates in March and then remove the word gradual, they've now become hawkish. They're now about to get a lot more aggressive. And the dollar will rally and the market will tank. That's my why.
Fantastic. I got a question for you.
Shoot.
Philly or New England?
Oh, the line says I should bet Philadelphia. But there's just no way that I can bet against Tom Brady. I'm the first person to admit that I dislike Tom Brady more than anyone else on the earth because I'm jealous of him, not for any other reason. To be Tom Brady would be like the biggest big game lottery win you could ever have. So I'm extremely jealous of Tom Brady, his looks, his athletic ability, his success, his wife, everything. I'm just jealous of the guy, so I hate him. But I cannot bet against him. I just can't. So I'm not bad. I'm going to be rooting for Philly. But I think New England.
Well, that's what I was really asking. Who are you rooting for?
Yeah, I'll be rooting for Philly. But the way the line is structured, you have to bet Philadelphia because the line is too tight. It should be double digits, and it came out at about 8.5. That's not enough for how much better New England is than Philadelphia. And that's Vegas telling you that it's going to be closer than the general public thinks. So you should bet Philadelphia if you're going to bet, but I cannot bet against Tom Brady.
Well, there you have it. You also have your Super Bowl betting update. This podcast better come out before the Super Bowl then.